This is for Algebra 2, Lesson 8b, and I'm going to do these 4 problems because although 12 is not bad at all, the other 3 are wicked. I really liked them. So, let's get started. I tried to pick one that wasn't too bad. Remember, the first thing I always do is I just look to see if I can reduce it all. And I can't on this one. So I'm going to multiply by its conjugate, both the top and the bottom. Remember, it's exactly the same. You just change the middle sign. So I'm going to multiply both the top and bottom by 2 minus 8i. Okay, so here I'm going to get what? 6i. And 3 times 8 is 24. And I times I is I squared. So I've got that on the top. All right. Here, when I multiply the bottom, notice because they're conjugates, you won't have any middle terms. So you don't have to worry about taking, the outer and the inner. But I do need to do this. 2 times 2 is going to give me 4. And a positive times a negative is a negative. 8 times 8 is 64. And I times I is I squared. Now, it's key to remember that I squared is negative 1. That is the main thing. So I want you to think about this. This is negative 1 right here. So what you have is negative 24 times a negative 1. So you have 6i plus 24. And the same thing here, that's negative 1. So this is going to be plus 64. So that's 4 plus 64, which is 68. Okay? You might think you're done, but I believe 2 will go into all 3 terms. So make sure you reduce your fraction. 2 will go into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 24 12 times. And 2 will go into 68 34 times. So that should be your answer. Okay? All right, so let's move down to this lovely number. Okay, the reason I like this one, well, there's 2 reasons. First of all, hopefully I copied this one down right. Let me go. I'm going to take you a little journey through the house because I'm going to go look at my book real quick. Yeah. Did that make you so dizzy? If I pause it, it stops it. I know, I'm professional. I saw the square root of 4 right here, so I went ahead and I pulled him out. You don't have to do this. You could do it later, and we'll all get the same answer. This is just how I started. The square root of 4 is 2. I can't do anything with that x, so I just left him under there. So that's what I had in the denominator. So then, when I multiply that times the conjugate, it's going to be x plus 2 square roots of x. When I do to the bottom, I have to do to the top, x plus 2 square roots of x. Okay, so I've got that. We're going to distribute this in. X squared times x is x to the third. X squared times 2 times the square root of x, I know, this is ugly, is 2x squared, square root of x. All over. All right. These are conjugates, so I don't have to worry about that middle term, but x times x is x squared minus, okay, 2 times 2 is 4. The square root of x times the square root of x is x. Now, you, once again, might think you're done, but do you remember up here where they all had a 2 in common, and so we pulled out the 2? Well, look, what do every single one of these terms have in common? They all have an x. So I am going to reduce them all by x. Just like you did that other one, you know how you reduced them all by 2. So if I pull an x out of this, instead of x to the third, now it's x to the second. If I pull an x out of this, you can't do anything with him because he's under the radical sign. But I can take it out one there. It would be 2x, square roots of x. Pull one out from there, and I pull it out of there. So that should be your answer right there. Isn't that lovely? All right, next one. They are so trying to trick you here. Come on, 6 minus 2, it's 4. And what is the square root of negative 4? 2i. Now, I reduced this before I got started. Allison or somebody, she reduced it later, I think. It doesn't matter. My guess is most of you won't catch it to reduce it right now, so we won't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by the conjugate, 4 minus 2i, both the top and the bottom. Actually, when I did do it, though, if you see that they all have a 2 in common, you can reduce it. It's so cool. Okay, so 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 2i is 8i. Look what you get here. 4 times 4 is 16. Minus 2 times 2 is 4. I times I is I squared. But what's I squared? Negative 1. So here, instead of 16 minus 4, you're going to have 16 plus 4, which is going to give me 20. And on the top, I have 16 minus 8i. Notice what will go into all these? 4. So make sure you reduce it. 4 will go into 16 4 times. 4 will go into 8 twice. 4 will go into 25. So that should be your final answer right there. Whoops, looking through my phone, I'm having a little problem boxing that in. Okay, last but not least, definitely like this one as well. I did not catch this the first time I did it. Looking at it now, I noticed they all had an I in common. So honestly, if I had to do this again, I would be pulling an I out of everything. Because I didn't catch that the first time I did this problem, I'm going to do it without doing that, okay? And we can do it both ways if you want, but my guess is most of you did not see that. So if I multiply by this conjugate here, this would be the conjugate. And this is a cool problem if you don't catch that. So again, multiply the top and the bottom by its conjugate. All I'm doing is changing the middle sign. Okay, so look at this. 5i times 2i is 10i squared. Minus 5i times I, square roots of 3, is 5i squared, square roots of 3. Does everybody see that? Because there's your I times I, which gave me the I squared. All over. All right, 2i times 2i is 4i squared. Here we've got I times I, which is I squared. The square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. Now, this is cool. Look at this. I squared is negative 1. I squared is negative 1. Okay? So this is now a negative 10. This is now a positive 5, because negative 5 times a negative 1 is a positive 5. Okay? This is negative 1. So that's now a negative 4. This is a negative 1. So negative 1 times a negative 3 is positive 3. Okay, so look what you've got here on the bottom. That's negative 1. So you have negative 10 plus 5 square roots of 3 all over negative 1. Basically, you're dividing each of these terms by negative 1. When you divide by a negative, look at this. What's negative 10 over negative 1? A positive 10. What is a positive 5 square roots of 3 divided by a negative 1? Negative 5 square roots of 3. I just have to say, this problem was amazing. Okay, but again, if you catch this at the very beginning, you could start off your problem like this. And it would be so much easier. But just in case you didn't, there you go.